You are the group of complainers, and you are the group of people who give permaculture a bad name. The reason Mark Shepard, which is another one you should check out, Mark Shepard, Regenerative Agriculture, he's the reason he doesn't use the term permaculture, because people like you are attached to it. YouTube can be a fantastic tool to a lot of people who want a free education. There's a lot of very helpful and also very entertaining people out there on YouTube who are honest, good people. Today I'm going to show you some of those guys and also some of the guys that aren't. Some, you know, grifters out there and stuff like that. So that's exactly what we're going to go over today, is 6 channels plus a little bit more. There's going to be some honorable mentions, but 6 channels that I highly recommend to you guys, and then some other channels that just tired of their crap. Now, before we get into the first one, remember, if you need your soil biology tested, then hit up the email down below. Check out one of my previous videos if you want more information on soil biology and stuff. And if you want an on-site permaculture consultation, or if you have some questions you just need answered, then hit up the email down below. I'd love to help you out in any way that I can. Alrighty, so I got my handy dandy little notebook right here where I got the good and bad column. Now, the first one, for each good one, I'm going to give you a bad one. Or maybe like, maybe not a bad one, but just like the inverse of the good one that I'm going to show you guys. But the first good one I want to talk about is obviously Pastures Farm. That's my parents' channel. They put out some awesome free information out there. Like, it could really, I mean, and people have said so, like some people have watched that channel and it has changed their lives. Yeah, I mean, they're doing amazing things as far as like soil goes as well. Like right now they have that Living Soil Foundation, and if you can, please give to that if at all possible, where they're cleaning up some of the soil contamination that's gone on down in North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. There was a lot of PVC manufacturing plants and stuff like that you know, leaked chemicals everywhere, despite what the government wants to admit or not admit. Leaked chemicals everywhere. They have these soil testing to prove the contamination beforehand and how they're able to clean it up using soil microbes after, which is another amazing benefit of, you know, learning about soil microbes and what they can do for your farm and for your property and for your homestead and stuff. But yeah, Living Soil Foundation, they could go on and on about how that hurricane affected them and has changed their lives and stuff like that, but they're not. Their first, you know, thought process was to go out and help people who were affected even more. So Pastures Farm, great permaculture information, great permaculture, or like small homestead grazing information. They're fantastic people. And also, if you see my parents recommending a product, it's not because that product necessarily reached out to them. Believe me, Dad reached out to that product because he believed in that product and was like, hey, you guys have a good product. I think it could help some people. I want to work with you guys. So just keep that in mind. That's going to come up later in this video as well. Pastures Farm. Now, on the inverse of that, I would honestly say, like, my channel, The Permaculture Consultant. There's a lot of things that I'm failing at. Chief among them is food production. Like, I am The Permaculture Consultant. That's the name of my channel. And my food production is dismal. Like, I'm not producing nearly as much food as I should be per season. And it's kind of the curse of the permaculture consultant. I don't, like, you're looking at all the employees I have right now. It's me. The garden at the demonstration site, which is just on the other side of this property right now, is growing no food. I'm feeding the soil microbes with the cover crops and everything, but I don't have a single thing planted in that garden right now. Like, what you're seeing around us right now is the orchard and everything, and this is really the only food production that I have going on the property right now, is the perennial food sources that are around me right now in the form of fruit trees and bushes and, you know, ground covers and shrubs and everything. That's the only food production I really have going on here at the demonstration site. Now at home, I have a garden, I have chickens, I'm doing the chicken tractor on steroids, I'm producing a ton of compost, but as far as like food production goes, not much going on, and it's kind of the curse of being a permaculture consultant. I can either grow, and I've kind of debated this in my mind, like I can either grow a ton of my own food, like the majority of my own food, or I can show other people how to grow their own food and consult on their properties and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I'm not producing much food at all. And like, it's something I kind of struggle with internally, thinking like, you know, how are people going to take me seriously if I'm not even growing my own food very much? Like, not very much of my own food at all. So there's that. It doesn't mean like the information that I have or that I give out is lacking or anything like that. It's just like, I really need to get on the ball of growing more food. I just don't have enough time in the day. I don't have enough, you know, people. Like I said, I'm the only employee. But yeah. So that's something I've been thinking about. Maybe ways that I can make an income outside of doing the consulting and stay at home more to be able to produce more food. The issue is that I'm on the road a lot. Like, I'm either going out to teach at festivals, or I'm going out to do consultations and, you know, teach people what they can do on their own property, give them a plan, stuff like that. So there's that. Yeah, I'm on the bad side of the list, believe it or not. Not that the information is bad. I'm not lying to you about any information. It's just, yeah, I wish I was producing more food given the content of this channel. And hopefully in the future, I will be producing a lot more food. I'm hoping to, you know, raise up other consultants and stuff like that, people that can give out their, you know, own version of order of operations and plans and designs and stuff like that, so I can stay home a little bit more and start producing as much of my own food as I possibly can. On to the next pair of channels. Now, the next one on my list, and this is going to be a 2-for-1 type thing as far as the good channel goes, but that's Joel Salatin and Greg Judy. If you want to learn, if you want a master class on how to graze your animals correctly, then you need to check out Joel Salatin and Greg Judy. And not just how to graze your animals correctly, but how to market the meat that you're producing, how to sell the meat you're producing, how to have a successful, profitable farm. Joel Salatin and Greg Judy, I can't think of like better people to check out if you're wanting to get into like meat production on your farm and wanting to sell that product. Like, the amount of information that they give out for free is insane. Like, people would charge full-blown classes, like charge money for full-blown classes with just the information they give out for free. And they both offer their own in-person classes as well, and pasture walks and stuff like that. So yeah, Joel Salatin and Greg Judy, they should have millions of subscribers. Just, and like, Joel Salatin, let's be honest, he's produced more farmers than anybody else in this world. Like, he's the reason more people are farming than any other farmer in this world. Even more so than, I would say, like Geoff, who was my mentor and teacher when I lived with him in Australia. So Joel, Greg, and Geoff. Geoff is another one. If you want more in-depth permaculture information, like strictly permaculture, then hit up Geoff Lawton's channel as well. There you go, 3-for-1. Joel, Greg, and Geoff, like the 3 kings of regenerative agriculture. Joel Salatin, like, yeah, I mean, you see him up on the screen, but Geoff Lawton also, he's a man that is designed everywhere in the world. He has probably helped more people develop regenerative agriculture, you know, demonstration sites, whether it be demonstration sites or just full-blown feeding people. He's probably done that more than anybody else in the world. I know he's had a higher diversity of locations that he's grown food than anybody else in the world. And guess what? He helps people that don't necessarily have access to the internet. He does a lot of permaculture aid projects and stuff like that. Like, those third world countries, he thinks of, and, you know, he goes out and helps those people. So yeah, Joel Salatin, grazing, Greg Judy, grazing. Both of them kind of talk about marketing as well. And then Geoff Lawton for greater permaculture design. And you can go online and get his permaculture design course as well. The best teacher I've ever encountered, regardless of the topic. Geoff Lawton, his in-person permaculture design course, he is the best teacher I've ever encountered in my life. So those 3 channels are the good ones. Let's see what the bad one is. Oh, right, Justin Rhodes. That's the bad one. So, you know how I was talking about how, like, after Hurricane Helene, my parents' first thoughts were, how can they go out there and help people? Like, they were giving out gas cards at Ingalls, like, for people who couldn't, you know, they were giving out gas to people at Ingalls. They weren't talking about this, and they won't talk about this, but I'll talk about it for them. They were going out and immediately seeing what people needed help with. They started off with their loop, and then they expanded greater into Mars Hill and, you know, North Carolina and stuff like that. Justin Rhodes did the complete opposite. If you look at his most popular video, I think it's one of his most popular videos, talking about Hurricane Helene, literally his wife is on camera in the bedroom, first of all, during a hurricane, during a storm, during a traumatic event. Like, the first thing that pops in my mind is not like, oh, let me record my fake reaction to this. Like, his wife is literally saying in the video, how are we ever going to recover from this? It's just trash. The content is trash. Like, first of all, let me just break it down for you. They're making it seem as if they were the only ones affected from Hurricane Helene. Like, they were just affected the worst, and like their homestead was just devastated from Hurricane Helene and everything like that. No infrastructure got damaged. They didn't lose any animals. They didn't lose any lives of their human lives or anything like that. Meanwhile, if you go a couple miles, let's say to the west, despite what the official death toll is, thousands of people lost their lives. Thousands of people will no longer be the same after that hurricane. The official death toll is like 280 something. I can take you to one holler that lost more than 280 people, right? Let me give you a little story that was told to us over at the Grindstone FOB, the forward operating base over at Cherry Grove. There was one guy that came in and was telling us a story about, you know, what they encountered that day. And they were talking to a lady who was part of a rescue team. And the rescue team found this dude who was buried up to like chest height in just sediment, right? And he's like weeping. He's losing it. And they came up to him and they're like, hey, don't worry. We're going to dig you out. You're safe. And he just wanted to be left there to die. And they're like, well, obviously that begs the question, why? It's like, hey, rescue is here. Why do you want to be left here and die? And apparently below his feet, there was like a cavity below his feet where his family was buried. And he mentioned that 2 days ago, his family stopped scratching at his feet. So he wanted to be left there to die. Now you take that story, and this is just one of many stories like that. You take that story and then hedge it against what that dude Justin Rhodes is doing on his channel. That, for me, that's just flat out evil. You want to bring the attention to how hard your family had it with just a little bit of erosion on your property, when other people are like literally watching the rest of their holler, their friends, their families, literally immediate family getting washed down the river due to a manufactured storm. Not getting into any of that right now. Check out Dane Wigington if you want more information on the manufacturing. But yeah, that's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna go try to help. You're not gonna go try to shed light on people who are helping. Instead, you wanna bring the focus to yourself and how little inconvenience your family was during that. If it was that serious, you wouldn't have your kids out there playing in the water that's moving quickly, and that's causing the erosion. So that's what I think of him, and that's just like one example of many. I was done with that dude way before Hurricane Helene. Let's talk about let's talk about that baby you had at the gas station. I know where that gas station is, and I know what it's just down the road of, just in case anything went poorly. And I remember when my daughter was being born, the last thing I was thinking when I'm watching my wife go through the pains of labor, the last thing I was thinking was like, let me get this on camera and put it up on YouTube so I can get a bunch of views. That was the last thing, especially, and we were at a birthing center, especially if we're in a vehicle at a gas station. I'm going to figure out what I can do to help my wife get through this. That's what I'm going to figure out how to do. Yeah, I'm not going to film it. And I'll be damned if I film like a family member's funeral and put that up on YouTube. These are the people we're dealing with. On to the next one. Now, on a happier note, watching this lady's channel, it just like warms your heart. And speaking of heart, it's actually called a Homestead Heart. This lady, I don't know, I could watch this lady garden. She could be talking about nothing, and I could be watching her garden forever. She's just a sweet little lady who's like, and I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I think she is actually kind of, short and everything, but she's just the sweetest lady on YouTube, I think. Like, I don't know. She has fantastic gardening advice, and she's just showing you what she's doing, really. She's just an awesome, awesome lady. Yeah, Homestead Heart. If you want some good gardening advice, check out Homestead Heart. She's just out there growing food, just chilling, minding her own business. She's a sweetheart. Fantastic woman. Check out Homestead Heart. Now, on the flip side of that, let's be honest, Doug and Stacy, they are not what they used to be. They used to talk about homesteading and preparedness to a certain extent and all that stuff, and then Doug seemed to have lost his freaking mind, and every other day is another video about how we're all going to die or how he's got insider information and stuff like that. Like, it's It's just fear-mongering garbage. Instead of, coming up with a solution, it's just like a bunch of reasons why you should be fearful or scared or something like that. Like, it's not what it used to be. You used to talk about homesteading and preparedness and off-grid living and stuff like that. Now you would never even know he did any of that. It's just a bunch of, just fear-mongering and, hey, look at me, I've got insider information. No, he doesn't. Let's just be honest. He doesn't have insider information. He's just watching different news sources like everybody else, but he acts like it's his own personal information. And yeah, it's just, and also in person, like a lot of these people, most of these people, except for Homestead Heart, I've met in person so far. Homestead Heart, I'm just going based off what I've seen in person or seen on YouTube. Doug and Stacy. Stacy's wonderful. She seems like an awesome lady, but Doug, I mean, you'd literally have to pay me to be around him again. The dude is just flat out obnoxious. I remember the first encounter I ever had with him. He's like, how many books do you read in a day? Like grilling me about how much I read. I'm like, dude, I'm kind of busy doing things. Like not filming YouTubes about, we should be scared or fearful or anything, but I'm kind of busy throughout the day. I'm busy doing things. And when I'm not busy doing things, then I'm freaking sleeping because I'm exhausted. I'm not sitting there reading books all day. Not discrediting reading books. Yes, you should definitely be reading as much as possible. But remember, like just because it's in a book does not necessarily mean that it's true either. There's a lot of people that view books with this, the logical fallacy of appeal to authority, that just because it's in a book, it must be true. Not necessarily. And also keep in mind, you don't have to finish a book. You can glean what's useful from a book and leave it on the shelf after that. So keep that in mind. There's a good and bad. On to the next one. Now, the next awesome channel to check out is Stefan and Flomaton. Like, okay, so we talked about the three kings earlier of Joel, Greg, and Geoff. Like he should be added to that king's list of as far as like permaculture orchard and planting trees and how to make it thrive as a business, as a hobby, as just your own personal food source. Like Stefan and Flomaton has forgotten more about trees than I'll ever know. Like he is a fantastic resource when it comes to building a permaculture orchard and making it work for you, and permaculture orchard design as well, especially if you're going to do the U-pick orchard system. Like he has a fantastic system where his rows are picked based on their harvest dates. So you can go down one particular row and everything in this row is ready to harvest at this particular time. Now, like another channel related to that topic is Flomaton Famous. Dude has so much freaking information on grafting trees, growing trees. He told me an insane trick at the last Kentucky Sustainable Living Festival. By the way, that's linked down below if you want to go. He told me a trick that absolutely blew my mind. And he was talking about this guy in Florida who's able to force dormancy in his apple trees that aren't supposed to grow there, and he's getting full production from these apple trees. And that's by going through, like, you go to your tree and then you pick all the leaves off that tree, forcing dormancy and getting the appropriate amount of like dormancy days that tree needs to then produce next spring. Blew my mind. The dude is a wealth of information. Like, it's worth coming to KSL just to meet him and talk to him about trees. Fantastic dude. Highly recommend him. Now, on the flip side, so we were talking about Doug and Stacy with the fear-mongering and everything. Now we're going to talk about the Macs. One thing that really irks me is when you see constant videos from people saying, like, buy these 10 things from Walmart or we're all going to die type content. Like, believe it or not, I actually watched one of his recent videos and he was talking about how like he's not getting the YouTube views that he used to, and he's wondering why, to the point where he thinks that YouTube is suppressing him. And that's not the case. Like, dude, people want you to, and even YouTube suggested that he goes back to homesteading content. Like, people just want you to get back into homesteading content. Like Dad has mentioned before, like this dude is talking about like tactics and stuff like that when he's never been in the military. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's just popular at the moment, so he, does a video on it. So also, like, just a side note, if you were wondering, there are no 10 items that you can go buy right now that's going to save the world from what's coming. Like, it's just not a fact. It's just not going to happen. Like, the best thing you can do is grow your own food, build a community. Actually, that's the absolute best thing you can do, is build a resilient community. You cannot do it by yourself. You need a community. And that's something that I've recently learned, that you can't do it all by yourself. You need a community. Build a resilient community of people, not just anybody, but people you can trust. Speaking of Hurricane Helene, there were a lot of mutual assistance groups that fell apart during Hurricane Helene because, you know, it became clear who was in it for themselves and who was just only looking to receive help versus who was willing to actually get out there and start helping people. A lot of mutual assistance groups fell apart during that. But yeah, the max, that is just cringy content right now. Are there items you should buy? Yes. Should you prepare? Absolutely. There's a reason at the beginning of every consultation order of operations that I write up, step freaking 1 is put back a minimum of 6 months of food for each individual in your household. The reason I say 6 months of food, the reason behind that number is that no matter where you are in the United States, in the continental United States, the longest you're going to have to wait before you get your first radish harvest, from planting to waiting for it to harvest, is going to be 6 months. That's the longest you're going to have to wait. And the reason I pick radishes is because that's one of the fastest, like, seed to food plants you can grow, or radishes, if you didn't know. But yeah, I say minimum of 6 months, and you don't move on from step 2 until you've accomplished step 1. But yeah, step 1 is put back 6 months of food for each individual in your household and for each individual that's going to be showing up to your household in times of emergency. So yeah, there's that. On to the next one. So the 5th awesome channel you guys should definitely check out is Danny from Deep South. Like, Danny and Wanda have perfected permaculture zoning. If you want to know how much food two elderly people, and I mean that with no disrespect, in fact it's a compliment, if you want to know exactly how much food 2 elderly people can produce on their own with no outside help or very little outside help, every once in a while they have, like, you know, they'll hire somebody for something or like have a volunteer or something like that. But if you want an example of how much food 2 people can produce by themselves with no, like, hidden Justin Rhodes apprentices or like unpaid workers, then check out Danny and Wanda from Deep South. Also, their zoning and stuff like that, like the proper location depending on what the system is, go to Danny and Wanda from Deep South. They have awesome information. Now, just to be frank and honest, like, things that they buy a lot of store-bought fertilizer and stuff like that. I would recommend doing like composting and soil biology and focusing on that. Just a difference of opinion, but look at how much food they're producing. It's hard to argue with the amount of food they're producing. And my point of view is, like, I would rather remove myself from the nutrient or the fertilization process and allow the microbes to take over and then just, you know, foster the microbes and everything. I've heard him say before that he doesn't want to do compost or mulch or anything because then it invites the fire ants. Now, on the flip side, that crazy lady Patera, man, is she crazy. Like, I remember Dad did a video a while back because he got tired of the fear mongering too. And it was like homestead channels, like the types of homestead channels you should avoid on YouTube. Because we got tired, honestly, elderly women mostly emailing us saying like, hey, I just found this channel and I binged watched a bunch of like fear mongering videos. Like, what can I do to hurry up and get ready? Like, is the world literally about to end? We got tired of the scaring of elderly women. So we put out a video talking about homestead channels you avoid. And that woman thought we were talking about her. Like, to be honest, Dad didn't even know who that channel was whenever he made out that video, but she did 11.5 minutes of straight up baby talk in response to Dad. And I'm not exaggerating. She's since edited it out, thankfully, because, man, I had to fast forward just to find out when the baby talk ended because I was losing my mind listening to that. But yeah, the lady is crazy. She might put out good information. I don't know. I can't suffer through a long enough video to even find out if she puts out good information. But yeah, there are better sources. If you've been watching her you've been putting up with the craziness because you're like, she puts out good information every once in a while. There's other channels you can watch to get out good information as far as like homesteading. Like, I've listed a few so far. Fantastic channels. On to the next one. Now, this next channel is literally a channel that I will make my daughter watch when she's old enough, and that's Ann of All Trades. If, like, the combination between Ann of All Trades and my mom, who's doing a 26-mile ruck march and will be fine tomorrow afterwards, like, the combination between those two, and congratulations, Ann. I recently heard that you were pregnant and having a baby. Can't be happier for you. That's freaking awesome. But Ann of All Trades, the combination of Ann of All Trades and my mom, I can't think of two better female role models at all. Like, my daughter will be watching, she will be learning obviously directly from my mom, but she will also be watching Ann of All Trades, and it'll be treated as like part of her homestead curriculum. Like, Ann of All Trades gets rid of any notion of like, oh, little lady, you can't do that, and she pisses on those people. Not literally, you know what I'm saying? That might be a little vulgar for what we're doing, but like, she just proves all those people wrong. Like, a lot of those, and you'll see them at the farm store standing around doing nothing but complaining, like talking about how women can't do anything either. Like, Ann of All Trades and my mom over at Perma Pastures Farm, like, should empower more women and like literally like show women that, hey, don't let people hold you down. This is exactly what you can do. Like, fantastic. Now, also, I should also say, full credit to Ann of All Trades. Like, she's the reason that I carve spoons, like wooden spoons. If you don't know, I have a little hobby where I carve spoons and stuff like that. It's called greenwood carving or sloyd carving. But I absolutely love it. And she's the reason I even know about it. Actually, full loop, Ann of All Trades, she put out a video talking about greenwood carving. My mom got into it, and then I saw my mom doing it. And I was like, oh, where'd you learn that? Ann of All Trades. So literally, two women in my life are the reason that I carve green wood into spoons and bowls and sometimes cups whenever, you know, I can. On to the opposite, the bad channel. This channel, honestly, is the reason permaculture has a bad name. Not just solely this channel, but this type of permaculture. This is the reason that, like, permaculture, when people think of permaculture, they think of that blue-haired, purple-breathing Marchie that really accomplishes nothing. And that is Parkrose permaculture. Speaking of crazy, man, is this woman out of her freaking mind. She's the reason tradesmen hesitate into getting into permaculture. Like, if you look at like any of her recent videos, really none of them have anything to do with permaculture. Instead, she just like films herself super close up to her camera to avoid the dumpy body. And oh, I shouldn't have said that. I take that back. I shouldn't have said that. Permaculture has three ethics: earth care, people care, and return the surplus to the first two ethics. She's of the camp that is earth care, people care, and fair share. Fair share makes no logical sense, and if permaculture is anything, it's logical. Fair share means that everybody's equally entitled to the produce, right? Even though they didn't like do any work for it, they show up for the, like Dad quotes that Snoop Dogg song, Gin and Juice, everybody got their cups, but they ain't chipped in. That's the fair share ethic of permaculture. That's where fair share falls apart. Also, if it's fair share, then whenever I go and harvest my sweet potatoes, if it's fair share, then I'm actually robbing the earth. 50%, the fair share of a sweet potato harvest, there's a lot of biomass that I can't do anything with, or, you know, what could be turned into compost and then fertilize everything. I'm instead robbing the earth, and I'm consuming like another 25% of that biomass that I can't really do anything with. So it's going to waste. So yeah, like fair share falls apart. It's not fair share. It's return the surplus to the first two ethics. And keep in mind, it's the surplus. It's after you've met you and your family's needs, then you return the surplus to the first two ethics, which means you can sell that produce, you can give it to charity, you can compost it, all types of things. You can feed it to your animals if you want to. That is the real third ethic of permaculture, and it's not even the first third ethic of permaculture. The first third ethic of permaculture was also like set limits to population, but people started running away with that and were like, oh yeah, eugenics. That's not what Bill Mollison meant. Setting limits to populations means like if I have 5 acres of cows or 5 acres of land, I probably shouldn't put 10 cows on there. You know what I'm saying? Setting limits to like, okay, I could have a 10 acre, you know, potato farm, but that would create a monoculture. So let me set the limits on potatoes and replace it with like a polyculture, something that's way more diverse and can provide me with way more yields and a higher yield because of the diversity. That's what the third ethic of permaculture is really about. And that's what the like setting limits of population was really about. But people started losing their minds and running away with it, so it got changed to return the surplus to the first two ethics, which is also easier to explain to people. Especially to the new people. But Parkrose permaculture directly offends the people who could take permaculture, run away with it, and literally take over the world with it. If the blue-collar workers could be taught permaculture in a way that isn't offensive to every part of their body, every part of their being, then they could take it and actually do something with it. Instead, she's trying to foster the people that will really do nothing with their lives except complain about how unequal our justice system is, or how, you know, they've been dealing with the trauma of their childhood forever and stuff like that. Like, that's who she appeals to, and that's who she's trying to push permaculture to. But that's not who we need to push permaculture to. We need to push permaculture to maybe the existing farmers or their, you know, prodigy, because really it's easier to convince kids than it is to convince somebody who's been set in their ways for 60, 50, 40 years. And then also the people who work like with their hands. If we could get people who work with their hands to run with permaculture, there will be no more hunger in this world. Like, there will be no more hunger if we can get permaculture to those people and get them convinced that, hey, this isn't some like purple breathing marchy liberal crap. This is like the most efficient, the most logical way to grow food, and that's permanent agricultural systems, or like self-replicating systems, or regenerative systems. Remember, just a little side note, sustainable is like bare minimum. We need to be regenerative. If we're sustainable, we're breaking even. If we're regenerative, then we're making the place better than the way we found it. And that's exactly what we need to be doing. And that's exactly what this example is right here. This is a regenerative system. This, if I leave, and we've proved it by abandoning it for 4 years, but when I leave, this system will blow up and thrive and survive and do fine without us. That's a little side note, but yeah. We need to get this to the tradesmen. We need to get this to the people who work with their hands, and then permaculture will blow up, and we will no longer have hungry children, hungry veterans, hungry anybody, unless they just choose to be hungry. But yeah, this lady is flat out freaking crazy. Instead, she's too focused on like MAGA and how MAGA is so bad for, you know, her personal life, and how MAGA is threatening her livelihood. When really, MAGA, those people don't care about you. They're not watching your channel. They haven't noticed you until maybe now. Yeah, they don't care about your channel. You're just complaining to the other people who want to complain about stuff. You are the group of complainers, and you are the group of people who give permaculture a bad name. The reason Mark Shepard, which is another one you should check out, Mark Shepard, Regenerative Agriculture, he's the reason he doesn't use the term permaculture, because people like you are attached to it. So those are some of the channels that I would check out. Oh, just a little personal side note, and maybe relay this information if you know this guy, but Keeping It Dutch is one of the cringiest channels I've ever seen. Like, whoever told this dude to, like, yeah, you need to talk about your emotions and all that stuff, they lied to you, dude. You need to bottle that up, shove it way down deep, and maybe talk about half the emotions. But if you look at his channel, it's like every other day there's a new crisis going on this homestead. It's wild. I can see how it can be kind of entertaining, not because of the manufactured like situations he puts himself in, but just to see what this dude comes up with next. So start keeping it Dutch and stop keeping it big.